Here is the full map before we begin. Jesus of Nazareth performed miracles, and they fall into 4 distinct categories: healing miracles, nature miracles, exorcisms, and raising the dead. Roughly 38 documented accounts across those 4 groups, and when you see all of them together, not as isolated stories, but as a complete picture, something shifts in how you understand who Jesus is and what he came to do. So that is exactly what we are going to do right now. We are walking through all 4 categories in order, from the first healing to the last resurrection. By the time we are done, you will have the full picture. Let us start with category 1, healing miracles. This is the largest group, approximately 20 documented accounts across the 4 Gospels. And before we move through them, notice what healing miracles tell us. They tell us Jesus had authority over the human body, over disease, over disability, over conditions that no physician of that era could touch. Every single account is a declaration that sickness does not get the final word when Jesus is present. The first healing miracle most scholars point to is in the Gospel of Mark, chapter 1. Jesus heals Simon Peter's mother-in-law of a fever. She is lying down, burning with fever, and he takes her hand, and the fever breaks immediately. That same evening, the whole city gathers at the door, and he heals many who are sick with various diseases. This is the opening salvo. The word is already spreading fast. Then there is the leper in Mark chapter 1 and Luke chapter 5. A man covered in leprosy approaches Jesus and says, "If you are willing, you can make me clean." And Jesus does something remarkable. He reaches out and touches him. A man whom no one touched, a man declared unclean by law, and says, "I am willing. Be clean." And immediately the leprosy is gone. This miracle is not just physical, it is a statement about who Jesus comes near. Move forward and you find the healing of the paralytic lowered through the roof. 4 friends who cannot get through the crowd cut a hole in the roof and lower their companion down on a mat before Jesus. Jesus first says, "Your sins are forgiven," which immediately draws criticism from the religious leaders in the room. And then he says, "Get up, pick up your mat, and walk," and the man does. This account, found in Mark chapter 2 and Luke chapter 5, links physical healing directly to spiritual authority. The healing at the pool of Bethesda in John chapter 5 is another landmark. A man who has been an invalid for 38 years is lying beside a pool where people believed the waters could heal. Jesus singles him out and tells him to get up, pick up his mat, and walk. 38 years of inability, gone in a single word. Throughout the Gospels, we see Jesus restoring sight to the blind multiple times. In Matthew chapter 9, 2 blind men follow him crying out, "Have mercy on us, Son of David." Jesus asks if they believe he can do this. They say yes. He touches their eyes, and their sight is restored. In John chapter 9, there is the extended account of the man born blind, not blind from an illness, but blind from birth, whom Jesus heals by making mud, placing it on the man's eyes, and telling him to wash in the pool of Siloam. This healing triggers an entire controversy with the Pharisees that fills the rest of that chapter, because the implications of healing a man born blind from birth are too large to dismiss. Jesus also heals a man with a withered hand in the synagogue on the Sabbath. Deliberately, publicly, in front of critics watching to see if he will break the law, he asks them directly, "Is it lawful on the Sabbath to do good or to do harm?" Then he tells the man to stretch out his hand. The hand is fully restored. This appears in Matthew chapter 12, Mark chapter 3, and Luke chapter 6. Healing miracles are not only acts of compassion, they are often acts of confrontation. Among the healing accounts, we also find 10 lepers cleansed at once in Luke chapter 17. Jesus tells them to go show themselves to the priests, the customary act of re-entry for a healed leper. And as they go, all 10 are cleansed. Only one returns to give thanks. Jesus notes it, 1 out of 10. There is Bartimaeus, a blind beggar in Jericho in Mark chapter 10, who shouts over the crowd and refuses to be silenced. When Jesus calls him over and asks what he wants, Bartimaeus says, "Rabbi, I want to see." Jesus says, "Go, your faith has healed you." Immediately he receives his sight and follows Jesus along the road. The healing miracles also include a woman who had been bent double for 18 years, described in Luke chapter 13 as bound by a spirit of infirmity. Jesus calls her forward, lays his hands on her, and she straightens up and praises God. A deaf and mute man healed in Mark chapter 7. The servant of the high priest, whose ear is cut off during the arrest in the garden, and immediately healed by Jesus in Luke chapter 22, and the royal official's son in John chapter 4, healed at a distance. Jesus never goes to the child, simply speaks the word, and the boy recovers from miles away. That is the scope of Category 1, approximately 20 accounts, all of them showing that Jesus has total dominion over human suffering and disease. Now we move to Category 2, nature miracles. There are roughly 9 of these, and they reveal something different, not authority over the human body, authority over the physical world itself, over matter, over water, over weather, over the laws that govern creation. The first and most famous is the wedding at Cana. Recorded in John chapter 2, Jesus is at a wedding. The wine runs out. His mother brings the problem to him, and he instructs the servants to fill 6 large stone jars with water. They do. He tells them to draw some out and bring it to the master of the banquet. The water has become wine, and the master of the banquet notes it is the best wine, saved for last. John calls this the first of his signs and says it revealed his glory. Then comes the calming of the storm. Jesus and his disciples are crossing the Sea of Galilee when a violent storm hits. The disciples are terrified. Jesus is asleep in the stern. They wake him, and he rebukes the wind and says to the waves, "Peace, be still." The wind ceases. The sea goes completely flat. The disciples say to one another, "Who then is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him?" That is Mark chapter 4. Walking on water follows in Matthew chapter 14. After feeding the 5,000, Jesus sends the disciples ahead in a boat while he goes to pray alone. In the early hours of the morning, he walks out to them across the water. Peter steps out of the boat and walks toward Jesus. Until he looks down at the waves and begins to sink, Jesus catches him and asks, "Why did you doubt?" When they return to the boat, the wind ceases, and those in the boat worship him. The feeding miracles are among the most widely reported of all his works. The feeding of the 5,000 appears in all four Gospels. The only miracle besides the resurrection recorded in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. A crowd of thousands. A boy's lunch of 5 loaves and 2 fish. And Jesus gives thanks, breaks the bread, and feeds them all with 12 baskets of leftovers. The feeding of the 4,000 in Matthew chapter 15 follows the same pattern. 7 loaves and a few small fish. 7 baskets remaining afterward. There is also the miraculous catch of fish in Luke chapter 5. Simon Peter has fished all night and caught nothing. Jesus tells him to put the nets into deep water. Peter obeys, and the nets come up so full they begin to tear. They call another boat, and both boats begin to sink under the weight. Peter falls at Jesus' knees. In John chapter 21, after the resurrection, the same miracle happens again. The disciples have caught nothing all night. A figure on the shore tells them to cast the net on the right side of the boat, and the net comes up with 153 large fish. Category 3 is exorcisms, approximately 6 accounts, each one demonstrating Jesus' authority over spiritual forces, over the demonic, a domain entirely separate from disease and nature. The first exorcism in Mark's Gospel comes in chapter 1, in the synagogue at Capernaum. A man with an unclean spirit cries out, recognizing Jesus, "I know who you are, the Holy One of God." And Jesus rebukes the spirit and commands it to come out. It does, with a convulsion and a cry. The crowd is astonished. Even the unclean spirits obey him. The exorcism of the Gerasene demoniac is one of the most dramatic accounts in the Gospels, found in Mark chapter 5, Luke chapter 8, and Matthew chapter 8. A man living among the tombs, unable to be chained, cutting himself and crying out night and day. He is possessed by what he calls legion, because many demons inhabit him. Jesus commands the spirits out. They ask to be sent into a herd of pigs. Jesus permits it. About 2,000 pigs rush down the steep bank into the sea and drown. The man is found sitting, clothed, and in his right mind. There is the Syrophoenician woman's daughter in Mark chapter 7, a Gentile woman who pleads for her daughter tormented by a demon, and Jesus heals the girl remotely without even being present. There is the boy with an unclean spirit in Mark chapter 9, brought first to the disciples whom he cannot heal, and then to Jesus, who rebukes the spirit, and it leaves the boy instantly. And there is the mute man in Matthew chapter 12, whose inability to speak is resolved through the casting out of a demon. And now we arrive at the fourth and final category, raising the dead. 3 accounts. These are the summit of what the gospel writers record before Jesus' own resurrection. Each one builds on the last. The first is the daughter of Jairus, a synagogue ruler, found in Matthew chapter 9, Mark chapter 5, and Luke chapter 8. Jairus falls at Jesus' feet and begs him to come because his daughter is dying. On the way, word comes that she is already dead. The mourners are there, wailing. Jesus tells them she is only sleeping, and they laugh at him. He puts them all out, takes the child's father and mother and his 3 closest disciples into the room, takes the girl by the hand and says, "Little girl, I say to you, arise." And the 12-year-old girl gets up and walks. Jesus tells them to give her something to eat. The second is the widow's son at Nain, found only in Luke chapter 7. A funeral procession is leaving the town gate. A widow's only son is being carried out for burial. Jesus sees her and is moved with compassion. He steps forward and touches the bier, and the bearers stop. He says, "Young man, I say to you, arise." The dead man sits up and begins to speak, and Jesus gives him back to his mother. The third, and the one that stands entirely alone in its weight, is the raising of Lazarus in John chapter 11. Lazarus, the brother of Mary and Martha, has been dead for 4 days. He is already in the tomb. Martha says to Jesus, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." And Jesus says to her, "I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me, though he die, yet shall he live." He goes to the tomb and commands the stone to be rolled away. Martha warns that there will be an odor 4 days. Jesus prays aloud, thanks the Father, and then calls out with a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out." And the man who had been dead for 4 days walks out of the tomb, still wrapped in his burial cloths. Jesus says, "Unbind him and let him go." John records that after this miracle, the chief priests and Pharisees convene a council and decide that Jesus must die. The resurrection of Lazarus sets the final chain of events in motion. So here is the full map, complete, 4 categories, roughly 38 accounts. Healing miracles, about 20, showing Jesus' authority over every form of human suffering and disease. Nature miracles, about 9, showing his authority over the physical world, over matter and weather and the sea. Exorcisms, about 6, showing his authority over the spiritual realm, over forces that hold people captive, and raising the dead. 3 accounts, showing that death itself is not a boundary he cannot cross. Hold the entire picture at once. This is not a collection of isolated stories. This is a systematic demonstration across every domain of reality that Jesus operates with authority that belongs to the creator of those domains. Healing, nature, spirit, death. He is Lord over all of it. That is who he is. And now you have the full map.